So once again, I welcome you all to this very special 161st session of Leadership Talks. As you all know that these sessions are being organized by India International Education Council and School Knowledge Solutions. India International Education Council is a not-for-profit organization which is working in the field of education. It has collaborators from 12 countries. It aims to create a better world through education. Building quality centers for elementary education, approachable for all kids, is another goal of IAEC. It also tries to find best educational practices across the globe and find ways to implement those in Indian institutions. It is also creating more awareness on hygiene and learning disabilities. It publishes a magazine called World Education Review and many other educational reports. It aims to build 100 chapters in different cities by 2022. It will soon open its membership for institutions and individuals. It also imparts training for leaders, teachers, students, and parents. As you all know that so far we have conducted 160 sessions. We have received 20,108 registrations, 18,761 questions on national education policy. We have received participation from 8 countries: India, USA, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Nepal, Kuwait, Russia, and Seychelles. From India, we have received participation from 23 states and 130 cities. We aim to reach out to 100,000 educators, 20,000 institutions, and 1,000 plus eminent speakers like today's speakers would be joining us to share their perspective and thoughts on national education policy. With this, I would request you all, please join me in welcoming our key speakers for this very special session. Our first key speaker, a very senior education leader, Bhupinder Gogia ma'am. Bhupinder ma'am is principal with Satpal Mittal School, Ludhiana, Punjab. She's a postgraduate with gold medal in applied mathematics with an impeccable service record of an educational career that spans almost 30 years to her credit. She's an expert in school educational management and is much respected and credited in Ludhiana for successfully managing the best school in Ludhiana. She took charge of Satpal Mittal School in 2008 and has since then transformed the educational landscape in Ludhiana with her foresightedness and expertise. She works to promote SDGs through projects for students, teachers, support staff. She's an MIEE Microsoft Innovative Expert, a Microsoft Fellow, and a Microsoft Showcase School Leader. She's a visionary, dynamic, and well proficient in modern trends in education. She is well-read and widely traveled with a proven track record of successfully managing and guiding academic, co-curricular, and extracurricular activities. In her role as a principal, she has expertise in curriculum design, technology in education, assessment, and evaluation, professional development for teachers, pedagogies, and school administration related skills. Her vision and acumen, coupled with a strong leading edge initiatives and inspirational approach in the field of education, school education, is certainly an asset to Satpal Mittal School and to the education fraternity at large. We welcome you, Bhupinder ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you. Our next key speaker, another senior education leader, Samapika ma'am. Samapika ma'am is principal with Amrita Vidyalaya, New Delhi. She's an eminent, prodigious academician, stoic devotee, and a philosopher whose conviction dwells in the teaching of Mata Amrita Anandmayi Devi. She has devoted her life to carry forward Amma's teaching to the people for their spiritual amelioration, leading by example on how a great school should be run. She has taken the institution to the zenith of success. Her vision of reviving the primary and ancient language Sanskrit and making the learners gain scientific benefits from the language has reached to its desired goal with leaps and bounds. Multifarious activities and stimulating competitions to enable the students showcase their latent potential have seen the light of the day due to her ardent initiative. In the year 2020-21, Amrita Vidyalaya, with an attempt to virtually transforming the borders into a state of oblivion, had spread its wing globally and gained fame on international platform in the form of Amrita Kala Sangam. Under her able guidance, the school is taking giant strides ahead and a formidable name to reckon with in top brass of Delhi school. She is not only considerate and polite, but a strict disciplinarian. We welcome you, Samapika ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am. I'll come back to you. Our next speaker, another senior education leader, Gurleen Kaur ma'am. Gurleen ma'am is principal with Rajendra Swaroop Public School, Agra, Uttar Pradesh. She's a senior education leader with decades of experience. She's a strong technology professional, graduated from Yadavindra Public School. She's a passionate life coach and a motivational speaker. She conducted numerous workshops and programs and impacted individuals. She's a highly skilled, authority in research, e-learning, educational management, and staff development. She has been awarded and recognized many times for her contribution to the field of education. We welcome you, Gurleen ma'am. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you so much. And I would just like to correct you here. It is Rajendra Swaroop Public School and not Rajendra.
Okay. I'm really sorry for that, ma'am. We'll correct it.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for your presence. Usha Singer ma'am unfortunately won't be able to join us today. She will be joining us in later sessions. And our last key speaker for this very special session, a very senior EdTech leader, Jaswinder Singh ji. Jaswinder ji is founder and CEO of Wordsworth EAT. Jaswinder sir has an experience of 30 years in the field of education and technology and has also served as a consultant to UNESCO and education. Wordsworth English Lab is designed for India and is a highly research initiative of the ACT UNIP Group. It is a trusted education company with 2 decades of service in technology, education and training. Its expertise in technology, multimedia and content development has been instrumental in presenting a world-class language lab solution for academia in India. In a short span of time, Wordsworth English Language Lab has managed considerable recognition across the country for its unique content and methodology. Over 3,000 installations in institutions across the country stand testimony of the quality in product, implementation, training and continual service provided by the ACT UNIP and its committed network of leaders. Welcome, Jaswinder sir. Thank you for joining. It's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Rajul.
Thank you, sir, and welcome. I'll come back to you. Now, with this, we come to the next part of the session, which is the opening remark part. I would now invite our two speakers one by one for their quick 1-minute opening remark. So first, I would request Bhupinder ma'am, if we can have your quick 1-minute opening remark.
From Sarpal Mittal School, Ludhiana. We all are in the 21st century and all our teachers are 21st century teachers. So the question comes that are we equipped to imbibe the 21st century skills in our students? What are the challenges? What are the expectations of the parental profile or the community at large? And what can be done to make sure that we are competent enough to handle it and face the new world ahead? Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, ma'am. Big thanks for your presence. I will come back to you for a detailed perspective. I would now request Samapika ma'am, if we can have your opening remark.
Yeah, firstly, I would like to thank India International Educational Council for providing a platform to express my thoughts on decolonizing the Indian minds and transforming the education pattern as per the need of current scenario. It will be difficult to cover all the aspects of NEP 2020, so I would be focusing on few aspects like universalization of early childhood care education and involvement of parents in it, transforming assessment for student development, skill-based education, etc. We'll discuss in detail when my turn will come. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. These are very important topics. We are very excited to have your perspective on these important topics. I'll come back to you. Now I would request Gurleen ma'am, if you can have your opening remark.
Yes, so thank you everyone. Thank you for having me here, and I extend my heartfelt thanks and gratitude for all the dignitaries, all the people who are present here. Now let us see how, if we just talk about the holistic development in this education policy, are we actually going to implement? Though I am a person who believes in the actual holistic development, right? To have interdisciplinary mode of education. So let us see that we have the positive approach towards this and we actually try and implement this. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gurleen ma'am. A lot of experts who have participated have shared that this NEP is a very strong attempt, in order to achieve that, much talked about holistic education. So we'll come back to you for detailed perspective. Now I would request Jaswinder sir, if we can have your opening remark.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. And so I come from the EdTech platform where we talk about technology in education and language development. So what I understand is that NEP 2020 is a disruptive policy, but to the positive side. There's a lot of change that is being brought in. So how do we achieve the milestones which have been set up? There are huge goals that have to be worked on. So how would we be able to use, or how can we use technology to achieve that? Because India is a huge country and reaching out to each and every corner, because we are talking about inclusive, we're talking about holistic, we're talking about reaching everywhere. So how can technology be used to do that? That's one. The other thing is that there's a lot of change that they've brought in about using the mother tongue or the local language for the early foundation years. What happens to the other languages? What should be actually done? So I'm going to focus more on that. I look forward to the second part of the sessions where I can come and talk in more details. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaswinder sir. NEP is a disruptor. So we'll come back to you to understand in detail how it is going to disrupt our education ecosystem. Big thanks for your presence. Now, with this, we come to the next part of the session, which is the main talk part. But before I invite our first key speaker, I just would like to share the learnings which we have had during our last 160 sessions. During our last 160 sessions, almost every participant shared that this is a wonderful document. And this document has a potential to place India at that coveted position of Vishwa Gyan Guru. But at the same time, almost same number of participants shared that this is very, very ambitious document and it's going to be very, very challenging in terms of execution. Many people also shared the example of CCE. It was also a great document, but got failed due to poor execution. Many experts believe that finance is going to be a key concern area. Many senior educators who participated said that teachers training is the area of concern. Many experts said, yes, teachers training is the area of concern, but the lack of intent and motivation among teachers to get trained is bigger area of concern. Many educators shared their assessment that many good schools in urban areas already implementing many of these ideas of NEP. So the biggest challenge would be for rural school, budget school, and the government school. A lot of experts also shared that this pandemic has exposed the poor distribution of digital infrastructure in our country. So that is going to be another big challenge. So I would now request to all our key speakers that while sharing your perspective, if you can also suggest some ideas, some best practice which you have been doing in your institution, so that would make this session more engaging and useful for all of us, and we all can learn from each other. I would also request you, please keep the time limit of 10 minutes per speaker in mind so that we have sufficient time in the end for the questions. So with this, I would now invite and request our first key speaker, Bhupinder ma'am. Ma'am, over to you.
Is the screen visible to all?
Yes, ma'am.
So as mentioned by you, sir, education has evolved and progressed in the recent years, bringing in different notions of curriculum, pedagogies, learner profiles, and overall system aiming at equipping the child with skills which prepare him for the world at large. Students and parents today are living in a digital era where holistic education is not just a term, they want it as a new norm. Teachers are expected to go beyond their textbooks and are expected to imbibe not only intellectual, psychological, and social skills in the students. Parents are very much involved in the teaching learning process. Now, with so much of pressure, obviously the people who face it on the front end are the teachers. Now, when we look at when teachers who are going to be teaching in the 21st century, what is it that we expect out of our teachers? So, when we look at the qualities or the characteristics that we expect from our 21st century educator, we have a sea of objectives. We expect them to be imbibing collaboration. We expect them to be good communicators and so on. But may I ask you, is it the first time that we are doing this? Right from the Gurukul times, we have had collaboration, we have had problem solving, we have had personalization. But over a period of time, I think we started focusing on roles rather than on the concepts. In fact, we are in the 21st century with still a backup of 19th century. And the new education policy and the world at large is going to compel for us to move into the new era. Now, when I look at all these characteristics, each one of us has been doing a part of it somewhere along the line. Someone has imbibed collaboration in the classroom. Someone has been, personalizing the lesson. Someone has been a good communicator. She's adapting to the learning styles. Someone has been learning about the different learning styles of the students. However, we have not labeled them as such. And it was just a specific few who were doing it. Now is the time when each of us in the 21st century is expected to move ahead, to be able to be competent enough to face the world at large and be competent with all these 21st century skills. Now, what can we do? What are the areas that we need to work upon? The first is personalization. Please understand that the concept of one size fits all, which has been going for so many centuries, doesn't work anymore. One size doesn't fit all at all. The students are different, their learning styles are different, and hence the need of the time is that we personalize our learning. Again, this is not a new concept, right? If you look at the Gurukul system, in fact, I can quote Mahabharata, wherein Dronacharya did not ask Arjun to have supremacy or have a mastery on using the mace. Arjun was asked to have mastery on archery. Bhim was asked to have mastery on using the mace. So personalization is not a new concept. Perhaps we have only forgotten somewhere along the line. So what can we do to personalize our teaching learning process? First thing, I think when the start session begins, the teachers need to spend time. So coming to my school this year, we realize with NEP, which has been defined, the need of the time is to identify the learning styles of every student. So the first 3 days, we built a Teacher Connect program, wherein we try to gather the learning styles. We try to know more about the learning styles of each student. And then accordingly, we'll be customizing our lesson plans, our teaching pedagogies, our assessment plans to make sure that every child is succeeding. The next area of concern is, I think the pandemic has made all of us use technology to the optimum. There are sea of tools, the Google tools, the Microsoft tools, then you have Kahoot, you have Flipgrid, you have Paint 3D, Bing, Skype, and so on. And I think if we expect the teachers to use so many tools, then you're expecting a bit too much. So if you have to be digitally strong, if you have to use technology very effectively, identify 3 or 4 areas which you think you need to work on. So if as a school, we have identified that, yes, my teachers will be using Flipgrid, they would be using Kahoot, they would be using Minecraft, then let's stick on to that and work on those 3 areas rather than try to pick best of each one, because you will never be able to achieve supremacy and mastery on anything when you do that. Next is the classroom management. I think gone are the times when classroom management means having control of the class. Right now, it is the need of the time is to give students voice, choice, and agency of learning. In our school, what we have done is we have involved children in the classroom management strategies. We have asked them to define their own do's and don'ts. So when they take ownership for what is right and what is wrong and what are the consequences, you know that the classroom is being managed well. And not only this, each of the students has been given an area which they take responsibility of looking into. Someone is a class monitor, someone is collecting notebooks, someone is looking into the hot cases, someone is looking into the out passes. So we have distributed leadership which we've brought into the classroom. And believe me, When you do this, when you give this empowerment to every child, managing the class is not a task at all. Most important with NEP coming in, and if you study the NEP, we are looking at a curriculum which is incorporating the 4 C's, media literacy, we are having environmental literacy, so on. So what can we do to make sure we are able to imbibe these skills in the students? All I can say is that it's the need of the time is to redefine your lesson plans, redefine your assessment plans, so that you're able to equip your students with the 21st century skills. As a school, we have identified, we relooked, every year we do a reflection of our lesson plans. So we again relooked at our lesson plans and try to see where can we intentionally make sure that these skills are getting transacted into the classrooms. Most important, I think the world at large has become a global village, and the need of the time is the students are prepared for the world at large. And how do you bring in global awareness? You can bring in global awareness by working at a bigger picture, talking of 4 areas that we can work on: knowledge, skills, engagements, and attitudes. When I come to the teacher of 21st century, one thing which all of us miss, and perhaps I can share it with conviction, is the problems we have today cannot be solved with the approaches we used in the past. And most important, I think the teacher connect, going back to the Gurukul times and the Guru Shishya Parampara technology, is technique which we had, the ethos of the Guru Shishya Parampara, the teacher connect which we had. It's important for us to walk the extra mile, to build a relationship with every student, to make sure that learning has a purpose. So if you're teaching a concept, please show the relevance of learning the concept to the world which is immediate, to the world at large. Next, authenticity is the key. When you're teaching a concept and you feel, let me say, I talk about saving water, and if I don't have a conviction that that is the need of the time, students see through you. So have the authenticity in what you're trying to say, because children respect when the educator is able to show that I'm authentic about what I'm trying to preach. And most important, love what you teach. Because when you love what you teach, you don't need to learn too much about your pedagogical skills or your learning strategies. The right technique comes to you automatically. Even if you don't like the topic, even if you don't like teaching, let me say, similar triangles, ACT. Teaching is 70% theater and 30% knowledge. Please show that you love the topic. And when you start pretending for too long, believe me, you start becoming that. So please love what you teach. Please understand that in this world today, students, whatever you're trying to teach is already available on the Google or any other digital platform. What they're looking for is a relationship, because it's the relationship which makes you a great teacher. And it's a relationship which will make you a powerful 21st century teacher. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bhupinder ma'am. You almost presented an amazing template for a 21st century teacher. You began by emphasizing upon the teaching, the expectation from teachers in 21st century. You talked about the importance of personalization, and then you talked about why we need to rightly use the technology. There are different tools available. And you talked about the importance of classroom management. And you said, today's classroom management is empowering students to take ownership. You also shared the concept of distributive leadership, which you have been practicing in your institution. You also talked about, and you shared your assessment that today's world is a global village. And we need to prepare our kids, we need to prepare our learners for that global platform. And then, you called upon all the educators, all the teachers that we need to love what actually we teach. And relationships are key. You very rightly said, ma'am, that a lot of senior educators who participated have also shared similar views that today's students, don't come to teachers for information. There are far, far bigger sources of information available. They come to teachers for the perspective. And you rightly said that teachers need to learn how to develop, and cultivate the relationship with those learners. So big thanks, Bhupinder ma'am, for sharing these important points. I would come back to you with questions. Thank you.
Right. Thank you.
And now I would request Samapika ma'am, if we can have your perspective in detail. Meanwhile, I must recognize the presence of Sandeep Kalia sir, principal, the Cardia Public School, Dehradun, Uttarakhand. Welcome, Sandeep sir. Samapika ma'am, over to you.
Yeah. Om Namah Shivaya. It's an honor and great privilege to present my thoughts on decolonizing the Indian minds and transforming the education pattern as per the need of current scenario. NEP 2020 outlines the vision India's new education system, which is based on what is necessary for this nation, our people, in keeping with our heritage and in keeping with modern needs. Since past many decades, the education system has been functioning on the principles of Lord Macaulay. Following such principles, the education system was restricted with many constraints that didn't aim at the holistic development of the students. Swami Vivekananda says, education is the manifestation of perfection already in man. I feel that NEP 2020's vision is based on this quote. Let's see the mission, vision, and values of NEP 2020. Recognizing, identifying, and fostering the unique capabilities of each student by sensitizing teachers as well as parents to promote each student's holistic development in both academic and non-academic spheres. Here, 2 points are to be noted. Firstly, sensitizing teachers as well as parents. NEP has emphasized on the role of parents in the education system. Secondly, holistic development in both academic and non-academic spheres. Now, non-academic spheres are also included in education system. Both the points are dealt in detail later. Instilling ethical, human, and constitutional values like empathy, respect for others, cleanliness, etc. And then an education system rooted in Indian ethos that contributes directly to transforming India, that is Bharata, sustainably into a hub of culture and knowledge by providing high quality education to all and thereby making India a global knowledge superpower. Here, let me explain the meaning of Bharata. Bhayam iti rataha iti Bharata. Bha means illumination or light of knowledge, and rataha means engaged in. So the name of a country means a place where people are engaged in search of knowledge. So the vision is very apt to make India a global knowledge superpower. In order to build a progressive nation, NEP has done certain reformation in the education policies. I am going to elaborate a few. The major stride taken by NEP is universalization of early childhood care education and involvement of parents in it. This will bring the uncovered age group of 3 to 6 years under the school curriculum, which has been recognized globally as the crucial stage for the development of mental faculties of a child. Parents' role is not limited to home, but involvement in school activities also, with the focus no longer limited to high-quality pedagogical experiences alone, but also on promoting student wellness, fitness, good health, psychosocial well-being, and sound ethical grounding. A productive partnership with the parents, especially at the fundamental stage, will ensure that the children can achieve their highest potential. A balance of education at home and school molds a student's actual learning. A ready framework for parents to actively participate in early education years of their child is required. The curricular and the pedagogical framework of early childhood education to be developed by NCERT will rely heavily on local traditions developed over hundreds of years. This will serve as a common shared resource for both parents and formal early childhood institutions, thereby making it easier for parents to participate more meaningfully in the child's formative years through storytelling, songs, etc. So it is only fair that the parents who are closely involved in most of these aspects of their child's life are recognized as equal partners in their child's education. The equal efforts from parents and teachers can contribute in laying in the strong foundation of a great nation. Collaboration of parents and teachers along with the students would form the three stable sides of a perfect equilateral triangle. Transforming assessment for student development. Under the NEP, more emphasis will be given to practical assessments rather than simply testing rote memory of students like the system which is running now. The transformational approach from a mark-based report card to a holistic evaluation is a future-ready shift. The shift from rote learning to conceptual and practical learning will set a child's foundation skills to take up a course as per their aptitude and competencies. It is all the more important during the pandemic time, as we all know that it is difficult to assess children on online platform using pen and paper test. There is tendency to copy the answers. So in order to assess the learning logs of the pupils, other assessment methods like oral test, online quiz applications, podcast, role plays, interactive worksheets, online screening of the wards using whiteboard application, peer assessments, etc. can be used. Sanskrit as a bearer of culture and identity. Widely known for its great treasure given to the world by ancient India, Sanskrit is universally recognized as the language containing the earliest literature in the world. It possesses a classical literature that is greater in volume than that of Latin and Greek put together. It contains vast treasures of mathematics, philosophy, grammar, music, politics, medicine, architecture, astronomy, astrology, and more by n number of people over thousands of years. Sanskrit will thus be offered at all the levels of the school and higher education as an important enriching options for the students, including as an option in the three-language formula. Instilling core values from the tender age. NEP emphasizes on teaching the importance of doing what is right at a very young age and giving a logical framework for making ethical decisions. In our scriptures, there are two important concepts, Shreyas and Preyas. Shreyas means doing or following what is good or what is right, or doing, you can say dharma. And Preyas means doing or following what is pleasant. Whatever is good may not be pleasant always, and whatever is pleasant may not be always good. Let me explain this with the help of a very simple example. Taking bitter pills of medicine is not a pleasant thing to do, but it is good for health. Similarly, exams, or you can take studies. Children, they don't want to study. It is not a pleasant thing for them to do. But it is a good thing because their future depends on studies. Children need to be taught to discriminate between what is good or right and what is pleasant from the very young age. In later years, This would then be expanded along themes of cheating, violence, pleasureism, tolerance, equality, empathy, etc., with a view to enabling children to embrace moral or ethical values in conducting one's life, formulate a position, argument about an ethical issue from multiple perspectives, and use ethical practices in all work. As consequences of such basic ethical reasoning, traditional Indian values and all human and constitutional values such as seva, ahimsa, satya, nishkam karma, forgiveness, courtesy, justice, liberty, etc. will be developed in all students. Children will have the opportunity to read and learn from the original stories of the Panchatantra, Jataka, Hitopadesha, and other fun fables and inspiring tales from the Indian traditions and learn about their influences on global literature. Skill-based learning in school. More emphasis will be given to skill-based learning in school under the newly designed NEP. An approach of skill-based learning from an early foundation of studies will help the learner identify their skill sets much earlier, thereby empowering students to be future ready. According to the policy, every student will take a fun course during grades 6 to 8, which gives a survey and hands-on experience of a sampling of important vocational crafts such as carpentry, electric work, metal work, gardening, pottery making, etc., as decided by states and local communities and as mapped by local skilling needs. All students will participate in a 10-day bagless period sometime during these grades, where they intern with local vocational experts such as carpenters, gardeners, potters, etc. Similar internship opportunities can be extended to further grade 9 to 12, which may include holiday periods. Self-reliant India, Atmanirbhar Bharat, envisioned and popularized by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, targets at making the country economically developed. It's an umbrella concept that would enable India become a bigger and more important part of the global economy, pursuing policies that are efficient, competitive, and resilient. The said concept success entirely depends upon religiously embracing of the new strategy of education system. A nation's ability to become self-reliant is based on the fact that how capable the future generation is. The decolonizing of the minds and education system believes in nurturing creativity and enhancing employability by funding academic autonomy, counseling arrangements for early career researchers, and systems to help overcome the many barriers to equality and diversity. The vision of being self-reliant directly connects with the notion that India can achieve the desired goal only when, along with the smart technique of education, it is globally, scientifically, and technically advanced. A paradigm shift in the process of learning will be enhanced with critical thinking and innovation to align India's curriculum to the 21st century and to prepare the students for the AI economy. The policy lays profound emphasis on the need to impart the necessary technical knowledge at all the levels of education. School children will be exposed to crucial skills such as digital literacy, coding, and computational thinking from a young age through the teaching of contemporary subjects such as artificial intelligence and design thinking. Lastly, I'd like to conclude by saying that the pursuit of establishing the country on the path of global success and facilitating in becoming self-reliant lies in the fact that the above-mentioned policy is implemented with the same zeal as it has been designed. The vital strategies incorporated in the plan would let the country experience a new change. The objective of building a strong nation can see the light of the day with a passionate inclination to reach to the epitome of success. I wish all the best to all the educators to implement this wonderful policy with the same zeal as it has been designed. Thank you.
Thank you, Samapika ma'am, for sharing these valuable thoughts and key highlights from national education policy. You began by highlighting the importance of social values in national education policy. You also talked about where NEP strongly advocates an education system which is deeply rooted in Indian ethos to make India a truly global superpower. You also talked about that we need a proactive collaboration between teachers, parents, and students, to make this national education policy truly successful. You also talked about we need to truly transform our assessment system for the quality learning outcomes. And then you also share the concepts of Shreyas and Prayas. We thank you for that. You also talked about why we need that skill-based education system in our, entire education, and NEP is also talking about it. In the last part of your talk, you talked about and you shared your assessment that NEP has a potential to stop brain drain, and it has potential to make India a truly global leader in science and technology. Big thanks to Mapika ma'am for sharing these valuable points. I would come back to you with questions. Thank you, ma'am. Now I would request Gulleen Kaur ma'am, and meanwhile I must recognize the presence of Manjeet Kaur ma'am from Chandigarh, a very senior education leader. Welcome Manjeet ma'am. And now I would request Gulleen ma'am, over to you.
Thank you. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, I had almost lost the connection and just got back. So it was really intriguing to listen to the previous two worthy speakers. And I have not prepared any presentation or something, but I'll just probably won't even take that much of time. So let me just start with one beautiful quote. The beautiful thing about learning is that no one can take it away from you. So I feel that this NEP 2020 is basically talks about the word learning, right? I remember talking to all of my students about one particular thing. I always used to tell them, you need to think out of the box. In fact, there should be no box at all, right? So here I would like to share one event when during the wee hours of my getting into the teaching profession, the wee years of getting into the teaching profession, I happened to have a student who had an Indian student, but he was always in US. So when he had come, and here he was in that time in class 7th. So he was a child who was full of knowledge. I mean, you ask about any topic and he has the reply. He knew about the current affairs. He knew about, his accent was obviously very good. And here in UP, as you compare with the other students, though that school was a branded school, but still his accent was completely different. And everybody, all the students were in kind of, awe, looking at him, the way he speaks, the way he's so aware about anything. So I was also very fascinated about that child, because he was not the kind who would just, read or write what is there in the back exercise. He would go deep down in the chapter and would want to know more and more about it. So this is how I told the other students that how he stands apart is because of that inquisitiveness to know about things. Because this is how probably in the countries outside, where they stress more not on academics altogether, but yes, to have every kind of information with that student. So pandemic has had taught us a lot, and I would say there were two positive things that happened. That the whole education system kind of took a transformation from offline to online, from the classrooms to the virtual platform. And I must say that teachers, the students have done remarkably well. I mean, teachers have come up with a lot of innovations. Students have come up with the ways, be it negative or positive, probably they are copying and pasting in the answer scripts, but then that's they are using their minds. So what I want to say here is everybody is so talented, is so creative, but the previous education system was kind of curbing that creativity. The children were more into rote learning. The children were, there was a constraint of finishing the syllabus in that particular time. So they did not have time to explore. They did not have time to, use their creativity and innovation. Whereas I always believed, and I've always, used to, since I was an English teacher, so I always used role play as one of the mode of explaining a chapter. So because I felt that if a child can, learn so much from probably a cartoon or a movie, why if a child is not, is given this platform where he can, get into role plays and dialogues, he will be able to have it more in his mind, right? Rather than learning or just reading the chapters. So NEP is the second good thing happened in during the COVID times, because I would not go into the technicalities. Already Bhupinder ma'am and the other ma'am has spoken about it. But yes, NEP, where it talks about universalization of education, achieving of global standards, the holistic approach, interdisciplinary approach, where you have flexibility of subjects, you have to learn coding, and they talk about minimizing the difference between the private and the government education. They talk about this academic bank of credits, where a child can take a sabbatical and sit for 1 year and get into what he likes. I really wish that this actually happens on ground, and we have such children who can explore their talents, who can, who want to learn different languages, do get a chance, because yes, we really need to have an education system which supports academic, vocational and extracurricular together. Because like I talk to my parents, I always tell them that I'm a person who firmly believes that a child in the school, I'm talking about, should get the holistic, development over here. They should not go out for coaching, because a parent would not spend, after spending in the school, would not like to spend, or a child would not go for spoken English somewhere. A child would not go to learn life skills somewhere else. So this particular platform or the education system should be such that a child should get each and everything over here. Because once I feel if he walks out of the institution he or she has studied from, it should show, that yes, he is a child who belongs, who has, a totally different approach. Like Bhupinder ma'am said that they talked about global approach. So a child should have that kind of awareness. And I am really intrigued by the fact that NEP has brought all this onto papers as of now. So let's see that this NEP, which says, in a way, directly or indirectly, that there can be a customized way of education. So let's see if we have this on ground. Thank you so much from my side.
Thank you, Guleen ma'am, for sharing these insights and your wisdom. You talked about and you called upon all the teachers that we need to find innovative ways to communicate with students. Role play could be one such tool. You also talked about major highlights from NEP, be it universalization of education and how it is going to create the impact. You also talked about the importance of flexibility in terms of choosing subjects. A lot of people have also lauded about it. You also talked about academic bank of credit. Many believe this is going to be a game changer, and it would help us in bringing those students who are out of our formal education system, who have dropped out. They would be able to come back. In the end, you share your assessment that NEP proposing, the social values in education, and it is going to create an impact. So big thanks, Guleen ma'am, for sharing these important points. I would come back to you with questions. Thank you. And now I would request Jaswinder sir, sir, if we can have your detailed perspective, Jaswinder sir.
Yeah, thank you, everybody, and still a good morning to everybody. By the time I finish, it's going to be afternoon. So let me transit from the morning to the afternoon part. I'm going to focus on, like I told you, I'm going to focus more on the technology part. So let me first start with something very important. In my opening session, I said that this is a disruptive policy. What I meant by disruptive policy is there's a lot of things which are going to change right from the core. Okay, a lot of things are going to change, and how are we going to cope with it? The most important thing, and people where they are worried about, is how do we train teachers? We're talking about 14 million teachers. We're talking about changing the entire education system. How do we train them first? What do we train them on? That's a major challenge. So my first point is that what we need to do is to work with teachers and train them on basic computing skills. The first thing that we need to do is to train our teachers, though most of them have already worked on it. We need to train them on how actually you are able to access information which is out there and convert that information into knowledge. What we need to train them is how to use certain basic tools. See, understand, the world now says you need not know everything, but you need to know where to find everything. So that's an important thing. Understand one important thing. Teachers of today will never be able to outpace these students of today or the learners of today. Understand, we as teachers, we are technology migrants, and our current students are technology residents. They were born with a computer or a mobile phone in their lap. You just can't match up to them. So how do you do? So one thing is that you need to know where to find everything, and that is not difficult. We cannot make the lives of our teachers difficult. A happy teacher is a good teacher. A happy teacher performs well, right? Bhupinder ma'am, you did talk about that teaching is nothing but 70% theater and 30% knowledge. I strongly second that. I strongly second that. The teacher need not know everything, but she needs to create an environment where learning happens. One more thing, we talk about compassion. You know, students do well in those subjects whose teacher they love. So teaching here is an art, and it is not knowledge. Teaching is a technique. The pedagogy is very important. So what we need to do is we need to work on these aspects along with the other. See, once the teachers are able to use the technology tools, the government of India is, as it is, planning to have teacher training portals. If on the other hand, we are expecting that students can do e-learning, why not teachers? So the most important thing is that if we are able to train them on how to use the right kind of technical tools, which are very simple, you don't need to know coding. And if they are able to do, that is something that we will be able to work on. Let me give you a simple example. How the future classrooms are going to work. We all have to understand that blended teaching is here to stay. From an instructor-led only teaching to an instructor-led and computer-based teaching, that is what is going to come up. Let me give you a very, very simple example. Say if I were to come and if I were to be a geography teacher and if I were to come and talk about volcanoes, what would I do? Straight go to the class, open page number 5 and start downloading whatever I know or whatever I want the students to know. And what happens? It's a one-way traffic. Students listen, or maybe they don't listen. They understand, maybe they don't understand. They are interested, maybe they're not. So there's no guarantee that learning is happening. So what happens is that textbook the students know, they go back home and for their exams, they do rote learning and they know only that much. So we are limiting their knowledge. Understand, in tomorrow's days, textbooks are not going to be there. You will have just can-do statements that a student of this standard, this subject, this is what he should be able to do. This is what he needs to know. And then he has got the whole repository of the world to go and find that. So coming back to that example of teaching geography, what we need to do is instead of this, apply the flipped classroom concept. Instead of going and teaching, I'll go today and say, tomorrow I'm going to talk about volcanoes and I want each one of You, that is the students, come up with 10 lines, 10 unique lines, and you to come and present it. What will happen? That day when the kids go back home, the first thing that they're going to do is dash to the computer, Google out, and find out about volcanoes. But you know what? Unfortunately, these students will not be able to find 10 lines. They will not be able to find 10 lines. Rather, they will find 10,000 lines. So that's where learning starts. They have to read through that. They have to skim through that. They have to scan through that and come up with their 10 lines. But understand one important thing. Like I earlier told, I come from an EdTech platform. Gurleen ma'am, we are into language teaching. We talk about language acquisition. But the report that we get from schools, we've realized that increasingly students are reading less. This is something not good for the future, and we will never be able to implement NEP, because NEP talks about research-based learning. If a student doesn't read, when will they research? So one important thing, we need to see to it that we inculcate good reading habits. That's important. Coming back to the point. So what the students do, they will read through that, they'll scan through that and come up with their own 10 unique points. And the next day what happens is they come to the class and each student gets up and presents his 10 points. The first skill that you teach them is they acquire is presentation skills. Second, they have to speak, they have to explain. So communication skills. Third, they have to listen to the others also and collaborate. So collaboration skills and peer group learning skills. And that is what matters. So the students enjoy, they are not learning, and the teacher at that time acts as a facilitator to see that learning happens. So everybody has put in their efforts. They are not limiting their learning to a textbook, no rote learning. They go through that, they come and present, and that is how you will see to it that students fall in love with that subject, or they start loving that subject, and that is what is going to happen. We have talked about how do we make learning lovable, the way we make teaching lovable. So teachers will also enjoy this, students will also enjoy this, and there will be a collaborative learning. And this is what we need to do. And you know what? For this, you need not have technology to a great extent. Simple mobile phone with an internet connection is all that the child needs. We are not talking about big time infrastructure. Anybody and everybody has that. But what is important is that atmosphere that you create for learning to be enjoyable. When we talk about English, we say for the love of English. One important thing I would want to Samapika ma'am, we've actually come up with a Sanskrit lab. So we said for the love of Sanskrit. How do you make language learning using technology lovable? And when they love anything, they're not learning. They acquire it. See, and especially when we talk about languages, you don't teach, you don't learn, you acquire it, and you'll acquire it only when you like it. You will never acquire something that you're not fond of, that you don't like it. So language learning, when I'm particularly talking about it, it has to be made so simple. And like ma'am said, Bhupinder ma'am said, that it has to be enjoyed. Students need to participate and learn on it. So that's something very important. So what we say is, if we implement a flipped classroom concept, everybody puts in efforts, and the teacher has to just be a facilitator, and teacher too has to go to scan through those things. And this will come out to be great. You don't have to worry what kind of questions to ask. You don't have to worry that the knowledge is only limited to the textbook, because when we talk about global, each and every world, everywhere across the world, you have different ways of teaching learning. And one more, during that, the student actually finds out that this is what I love and this is what I don't like. And that's where NEP comes in, and you allow him to select the subjects that he wants to go into. That, the credit bank is a great thing. For your information, I come from Ahmedabad, Gujarat. When Modi ji was the chief minister here, he had already put in choice-based credit system here. So in colleges, you were allowed to do that. And I'm so happy that they've got it now in schools also. Now, moving on to languages. A lot is said, and since it has not been talked about during this session, let's understand what is NEP 2020 talking about when we talk about language. They're saying that in the early foundation years, the students should be taught in their own language, in their mother tongue or the local language. Great thing. Before a child comes to school, he already knows that language, so he doesn't have to worry about comprehending what is being said. He can understand the core subjects pretty well, but that does not mean that English, which is the second language or the foreign language, they talk about 3 language concept. I'm going to come to that. So English too can be taught at that same time, and also the classical language. You see, understand, it is said that by the age of 8, a student can acquire up to 5 languages. NEP talks about only 3 languages, the 3 language formula. What is the formula? Local or the mother tongue. Okay, you teach using that. So in say if we are talking about Punjab, it is going to be Punjabi. If I'm talking about Gujarat, it's going to be Gujarati. If we talk about UP, it's going to be Hindi. And I suppose Samapika ma'am, you are in Delhi, it's going to be Hindi. So different part, that's the local language. Second comes the foreign language, that is English for all of us. And third comes the classical language, which they can either have Sanskrit, or they're looking at Urdu, or they're looking at Tamil. So what happens is, how does this help? First, the child's core concepts become easy. They can understand them. Second, with English, they are able to access the information which is there on the internet. 90% of stuff on the internet is in English. You don't have choice but to have that. And we are going to communicate with the world. And if you have to communicate with the world, we have to speak in their language. So that is English. And third is the classical language. Let me give example of Sanskrit. Beautiful language. What happens with that? We become more nationalists. We love our country more because that is our country's language. But one more important thing, like Samapika ma'am said, this is a very logical language. If you are able to comprehend or understand or speak Sanskrit, your logic becomes better. Each and every word, the spellings in that word in Sanskrit, there's a formula why X comes after Y and a Y comes after a Z. Why? It is all defined. So this is what actually will work. And one more thing, why I would promote that all 3 languages start right from the beginning and at the same level, because if a child speaks 3 or more languages, the brain works better. And that's what we are all talking about. If you speak more languages, you understand more cultures. If you speak more cultures, you become more empathetic. You become more considerable. You accept the others. And that is what is the need of the hour. We Indians are as it is. We accept the other people, but we need to love people more. And through languages, you can always do that. So what I would want to conclude here is, one, that we need to see to it that technology is brought in. Okay. We can use, technology in the simplest level can actually make us achieve in terms of teacher training and student involvement. And languages, believe me, I call language music. I call language is soft skill. Any language that you acquire properly, you become more gentle. Your soft skills come in the proper way. So what I would conclude is, NEP, great policy, disruptive because it changes a lot. Let's all be ready for it. And I'm sure we'll be able to reach where this NEP 2020 wants us to reach. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jaswinder sir, for sharing, these explaining these 2 important areas, language and technology, and how we must utilize these both. Big thanks. I would come back to you with questions. So big thanks once again to all the key speakers, Bhupinder ma'am, Samapika ma'am, Gurleen ma'am, Jaswinder sir, for sharing your wisdom and thoughts with us. Now with this, we come to the last part of this session, which is the question part. I would also request our other participant, if you have any question, you can write in the chat box. And meanwhile, we start getting questions. I just take a minute and I would share my screen here for a minute. I would, after that, I would come to the question part. I'll share my screen. I would explain what exactly we have been doing at School Lalaji Solutions for a minute. Some of you are already aware with School Lalaji Solutions, we are India's largest one-stop solution platform for educational institutions. We are present in more than 42 cities, working with around 4,500 institutions. We help educational institutions in 3 ways. We help them in buying the right thing from right people at right price. We also help them in selling their old stuff, like their old buses, generators, furnitures, to other institutions who may need it. We also help institutions in raising money, that may be in terms of loans or fee financing. Why any educational institution would need a platform like School Lalaji? You already have your old suppliers, your team is expert, you believe you're getting good discount. Why you would need a platform like School Lalaji as a procurement partner? There are two important reasons. One is the kind of discount we can get for you, because we give them bulk orders. That's one reason. Second, which is more important reason, is the bandwidth. In our educational ecosystem, we have more than 10,000 educational suppliers in different categories. In every month, there are 100 new companies are coming up in every new category. So it's very, very difficult for school leaders, for your team to reach out to all those companies to understand their product, to differentiate between different products and companies. Here we come into picture, we understand your school, your institution, your actually requirement, your taste, your budgetary limitation. We also have category experts who interact with different category-wise companies. We also talk to their previous clients to certify their credibility. We also negotiate with them, and after doing all these things, we recommend you the right set of options and for the further consideration. These are different areas where we are helping educational institutions, smart classroom procurement, uniform, insurance, diesel. We are supplying diesel to the doorstep of many schools in some part of North India at ₹0 transportation cost. We are also installing solar plant, language labs, security solutions, furniture, recruitment, music classrooms, healthcare, robotics, STEM STEAM labs, career counseling, stationery, digital marketing, IT solutions, educational door, generators, learning tools, and finance. And we take the guarantee that will save you at least 5 to 7% of your annual expenditure. So that's kind of a 5% additional revenue generation. Just one example, we save 2 crore 40 lakh rupees for different institutions in one category, that's bus insurance. We are perhaps India's largest school bus insurance partner. Some major highlights which we did last year, it was 8 megawatt plus solar installation, 3,000 plus bus insurance, 400 plus smart classroom, 2,000 plus cameras, 350 plus training program, 56 old buses we sold from one school to another, and uniform in 42 schools. By the end of 2021, we aim to reach out to 10,000 institutions. We need your support, your guidance, your blessings. So I'll end my talk here. With this, we come to the question part. Bhupinder ma'am, I would request if I may present the first question to you. Ma'am, this has been asked by Ms. Renu Bahari. The question has been asked by Ms. Renu Bahari. Renu ji is a special educator with Venkateshwara Global School, Delhi. The question is vocational education for children with special needs. So if you can highlight, those kind of vocational skills which we need to impart to children with special needs. Bhupinder ma'am.
I'll be very honest with you, sir. Though we have children who have disabilities in our school, right? But we have yet not started working on providing vocational guidance to the children with special needs. Why? Because they are still in the junior classes. So as of now, we don't have anything coming up, but then we have tied up with the Guru Nanak Engineering College of Vocational Studies. They are defining our curriculum, wherein we have vocational studies for the children otherwise, and specially designed for the children with special abilities.
Absolutely. Thank you, Guli. Thank you, Bhupinder ma'am, for that. And in fact, a lot of experts who have participated share these kind of tie-ups for schools. The schools need to come forward and they need to find institutions in their areas whom they can tie up with. So big thanks, ma'am. I would come back to you. Now I would request Samapika ma'am, if I may present the next question to you. Ms. Deepika Malhotra, she's a teacher with Paul Mittal School, Ludhiana, has asked this question. How about the subject combinations? Will it be the same 3 streams like earlier, or students can opt any subject of their choice from any stream? Samapika ma'am.
Yeah, actually, according to the policy, they can choose any stream. Like they can choose physics and history and psychology as their combinations. But it depends upon the infrastructure of the school also, like the timetable of the school also. It's a big challenge. So there is no one solution for this. The schools, they have to find their own, solution. If it is feasible in the particular, arrangement in the school, then they can take. Actually, according to the policy, they can take any combination. There is no compartmental, like it is science or commerce or humanities.
Absolutely. Thank you, Samapika ma'am. I will come back.
Sir, I would like to add on over here. Like in our school, we've been doing this. ICSE board has this flexibility that you can take any choice of subjects. So it's nearly 5 years now. We have students taking physics, economics, psychology, arts, English. So, but then we have to design special timetables for them. The entire school's timetables get shaken up. But then at the end of it, ma'am, if you look at the bigger picture, these school years are the most beautiful years of the child. And if as a school, we have to take extra effort to make sure my child's dream subjects are given to the child, I think it's worth the effort. That's what I believe.
Absolutely.
Can I come in
absolutely.
here? Can I come in here?
Yes.
Bhupinder ma'am and ma'am, the whole point is that is why NEP says that a teacher can work in multiple schools. See, the challenge is that how do we have teachers with so many, expertise in so many subjects. So what they have done is now what I see is that if the teachers will have, a multiple, schools will have multiple teachers which move between schools, and there'll be a lot of collaboration between the schools. That okay, I'm offering these, you're offering this, so the teachers can move on. That is one thing. The only big challenge is how do you set up the timetables. So what I understand, a lot of blended learning will come in. What a student can do on his own will be done at home, and the rest of the periods will be actually between the things. So there are going to be times when if a class out of a class of 40, 10 of them have taken up psychology and the others have all from science and let's say mathematics and physics. So the other students will be given something else, or they will have periods where they will go and work on the internet or do research and all that. So that is what we need to work. And again, that with the help of technology, we will have to set up the right kind of timetable so that you use the space, the spare time to the maximum. And that's one thing that government did, is allowing a teacher to work in multiple schools. That is the only way out, because as it is, we have shortage of good teachers, and at that level we need better ones. So that's what I think will be practiced.
Until now, CBSE school was emphasizing mainly in three streams like science, commerce, and humanities. So the mental set of the parents, students, as well as teachers, they need to change that. Maybe in ICSE, you have given so many options because it is in the practice, but students in CBSE boards, yes, they need to change their mental set.
Ma'am, students have already changed. It is only us and the teachers. Students have, it is us and the teachers.
Trying to change the mindset.
I have, our company has trained more than 25,000 teachers on, using pedagogy, technology and all that. So I see that the teachers have seen that there's a requirement from the students to have to be this way. And what I spoke is all out of my experience when we meet teachers. And what we had always wished has somehow come into the NEP 2020. Sometimes you wish